conference in February. We also got a chance to interview a rocket scientist, learn about major corporations at the BEYA Career Fair, see an amazing BEYA Stars and Stripes award show, and so much more. We also held a live career day in Huntsville, Alabama. Just visit STEMcityUSA.com and go to the Education and Discovery building. Once you enter the building, click on the globe for the STEM City World Auditorium. That's where you can find our past Career Day events. Today, I am joined by a group of student ambassadors who are excited to take you through today's journey. Mimi, please share information about you and introduce our Career Day.
Hi, I'm Mimi from Leesburg, Virginia. I'm an 11th grade student in Riverside High School. I am a BEYA Stars and Stripes student ambassador. BEYA Stars and Stripes Career Day is streamed live on STEM City USA, a 2D metaverse. Our BEYA Stars and Stripes Career Day was started by 4 founders. Dr. Tyrone Taborn. He started BEYA when he was a teen just like us, over 40 years ago. He recently released his book, MetaQuake USA, which talks about the evolution of the metaverse. Brigadier General Velma von Richardson is a legend in the corporate IT world and is one of the first women in the generals in the Army. She recently got inducted into the U.S. Army Women's Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Brigadier General Richardson. Lieutenant General Bruce Crawford, U.S. Army retired, and Vice Admiral Walt Davis, U.S. Navy retired, are our chairman and our chairman emeritus, and they have served as mentors to students and teens like us all across the country. Over to you, Lieutenant General Crawford.
Well, good morning to everyone, and thanks, Mimi, for the introduction. Listen, looking forward to a really exciting session today, but I think I'd start with a quote, and that quote is from philosopher Will Craig, and it goes like this: "Purpose is the reason that you're on this journey, but it's really the passion that is the torch that lights your way." So when you think about the word passion and you think about our purpose here this morning, our purpose here this morning today is really about exposing you to information that really ignites a passion for a career in science, technology, engineering, and math. So today we have the honor of hearing from yet another in a series of accomplished leaders, Dr. Adrienne Somerville. But just as importantly, today is all about you giving some thought to, so why not me? You're going to hear some amazing things today. But in the end, your question as a future scientist, technologist, engineer, or mathematician should be, why not me? And then finally, today is all about an opportunity for you to really experience the art of the possible and hear about the art of the possible from ordinary people who are literally doing extraordinary things that change the world. And so with that in mind, looking forward to yet another exciting session. So back over to you, Mimi.
Thank you so much, Lieutenant General Crawford. Before I introduce our guest speaker, we would like to take a quick commercial break from our sponsors.
I work at Lockheed Martin as a cybersecurity systems engineer, and I've been at Lockheed for 19 years. The role of cybersecurity engineering has a tremendous impact on the mission to deliver secure systems to our customers. I have 3 children. My kids are the center of my universe. I would not be able to continue working effectively as a working parent if it had not been for the flexibility in our work schedule and the flexibility of our leaders to help me exercise a flexible work schedule. One of the reasons why I've been at Lockheed Martin for 19 years is because I think the culture and the values that we demonstrate really reflect my own personal values. Performing with excellence, acting with integrity, those are steadfast values that we talk about day to day. I have seen great changes in the diversity within our company. 19 years ago, there weren't a whole lot of women in leadership, so the few that we had were highly coveted. Today, I'm proud to say that we see quite a few women in leadership roles. The advice that I would provide to young women and girls who are interested in STEM is go for it. You can do it. Don't let anyone stop you.
Today's guest career professional is Miss Adrienne Somerville. She is a Deputy Director in Naval Air Systems Command, the CEO of TTSC and Sommerville Consulting Group, author of Mastering Mentoring, a mentor, coach, and event speaker. She graduated from Norfolk State University, and she is involved in STEM programs, student mentoring, and building talent for private organizations and businesses. She's a very busy lady, and she's ready to share her career with us. Over to you, Ms. Somerville.
Thank you so much for that warm introduction, and thank you all so much for having me. I am so amazed every time I see such young talent, and I'm honored to be here today. So to tell you a little bit about me, I've had an interesting journey. I am a graduate of Norfolk State University, and I am blessed to serve as the Deputy Director for Command Operations Group for all of Naval Air Systems Command. It's an honor. There are about 4,000 people aligned to my organization, and I'm fortunate to manage not only my money, but billions of other government dollars and shape and influence the lives of many individuals and the trajectory in which the Navy is going to fight tonight and win. So it's an honor to have this blessed day with you all this holiday weekend. So I'd like to talk a little bit about my story, and I am going to go into some slides just to frame the conversation today. I can get really excited, so the slides will help me stay a little bit anchored in terms of the messaging. But I applaud first all of you that took the time to listen to this. It's very important to be a life learner and get information from so many tools and resources made available. So thank you, Career Communications Group, for offering this information to our youth and for having me again today. So let me tell you a little bit about me. I believe education opens doors. So we'll go into my presentation a little bit, and I'll give you a quick little overview and a little bit more detail about my career. So I started, we can go to the first slide. For those that are visual learners, I thought it was important to have a few slides just to kind of give you something to reference and to look at. As I mentioned, I do work for Naval Air Systems Command. I am also an entrepreneur, so I'm fortunate to lead two companies. One is Talent and Technical Solutions Corporation, and we basically develop IT solutions that enable others to better understand their human capital management, their talent management. So that would include how to hire, how to develop, how to retain, how to deploy, how to get into different market sectors with the talent you have, and how to better manage your workforce. Extremely important because everything you do in any organization is all about the people. The other thing I'm blessed to do is I'm an author and I'm also a public speaker. And so through Sommerville Consulting Group, I do a lot of coaching and mentoring with businesses and people alike to help them understand not only their individual talent, but how to best leverage it across an organization as an individual, as a manager, and as an organizational leader. I'm the author of Wingspan, and I'm also, which is all about managing your talent to gain corporate dominance. And I'm so excited about my upcoming summer release because this is all about how to master mentoring to your vantage point. I'm sure many of you have heard it is important to have a mentor, get a mentor, be a mentor. But I think what's often lost is how to master mentoring. And there are some tips and tricks. I am a benefactor of mentoring. I'm a believer and it is the key to success. And so I'll talk about that in my upcoming release. So stay tuned for more of that. And also to all this good content you're blessed to see on STEM City USA. I'm humbled to be a part of something I think is so futuristic and ahead of its time. So thank you, Dr. Taborn and team, for developing such an awesome model of learning in terms of learning management systems. And mentoring, coaching, and speaking is just innate in me because I think it's a blessing to be a blessing to others. And the ability to magnify anything you want to do or multiply it, it's always in partnership and collaboration. So sharing information, mentoring, coaching, and speaking is something that I also do. Next slide. So my background, humble beginnings, dare I say, at Norfolk State University. I graduated from Norfolk State. See, now I'm going to tell you all my age. So I graduated from Norfolk State in 1994. You know, it's so funny because originally I was offered a scholarship to Norfolk State, and I just thought I was just going to go to New York. I was going to go to this other school, and I was going to be this high-priced attorney in New York City. And then realism sets in, and you think, this is pretty expensive to live in New York. So I graduated from Norfolk State through some divine intervention. I'll tell you a little fun fact. I decided that I wasn't going to go to Norfolk State because I was living in Norfolk at the time. And so I was working for the Virginia Port Authority. And back in the day when they had fax machines and things alike, that was kind of my job, like to manage all of that. And so I honestly, on August 10th, I sent in the letter declining the full scholarship. Now, who does that? Don't do that. That's not smart. But for some reason, I went to New York. That scholarship didn't work out. I called back to plead to go back to Norfolk State. And interestingly enough, they never received my declination letter. So they thought I was a student and they had my scholarship still available for me. That never really happened. So that's my story. That's my story in terms of grace that I was afforded. So I graduated from Norfolk State, pursued a master's at Florida Institute of Technology. I do believe learning and degrees and education will open doors for you. So I continue to be a life learner. From there, I was able to go to Georgetown University, where they have a legislative affairs. He who knows the business of our country. So I thought it was extremely important to understand the workings of Capitol Hill, working for the federal government. And this is an epic. Never thought I'd land here, from humble beginnings at Norfolk State University to walk the halls and campus of Harvard University, even seeing where some of our most famous leaders, to include President Obama, resided, was an interesting opportunity. I studied women in power and also executive leadership at Harvard University. Extremely excited. So I tell people, don't, when you put labels on yourself, you put limits on yourself. So it's important to continue to advance and pursue things of interest. And that's what I did in terms of graduating from an HBCU and then ended up at Harvard University's college campus. So a little bit about my educational background. Now, the picture there on the left, that's my Norfolk State moment there. So that's when I was graduating with honors, summa cum laude. I was number 2 in my class. And then I just want to share a little bit. I didn't talk much about this, but I was a direct commission naval officer, supply corps officer, and that's my little all of 22. And this I wanted to share this picture because this was a risk-taking thing. I did have a mentor at the time who was a naval officer, Mike Sullivan, and I was working some projects for him supporting Naval Sea Systems Command. And Mike said, Admiral Sullivan said, hey, I think you would be a great reservist, which is what the reservist is all about. Getting kids right out, going in direct commission. And I didn't know much about being a reservist, but I thought, you know what? He said, it'll open doors, it'll build your network, you'll learn the Navy from a different perspective. And I'll be your, biggest fan, coach, mentor, and endorser. And so I share that to say it is a part of my journey and my commitment to naval aviation. And so it was honored to be a 22-year-old direct commission naval officer, flown straight to Athens, skipped boot camp, and just went right to training, learning, developing, and then work. So thank you for that. The next slide, please. So my biggest challenge, wow. So I am a believer in, I said before, education. And I would always ask that our young people continue to reinvent yourself, continue to learn something that you didn't learn. Make that a daily priority. Read an article, listen to a TED Talk, go on STEM City USA and see what's new that you haven't explored. Listen and learn from others. Because I'm so committed to doing that for myself, I also think it's important as I'm developing to continue to develop others. So for me, it's always a balance. I think the most impactful people serve callings greater than themselves. And so for me, it's like, how do you stay focused on you learning, growing, developing, maturing in your discipline and beyond? And more importantly, how are you pouring and shaping and influencing the lives of others along the way? Because that to me is what success looks like. And we'll get into this more when I tell you about some of my Norfolk State stories, but it is about balancing, and you want to make sure you're there for others and you're also continuing to invest in yourself. I wanted to share something in terms of a fear, because I've been asked this question, what's your biggest fear? My goal is to be a legacy leader and shape the lives of all whom I encounter. My biggest fear is I will run out of time. And so my goal, I'm fast and furious in terms of my decision-making and my decisiveness, my commitment to others. It's unwavering. And my biggest fear is that before I've had the greatest impact ever, I would run out of time. So I just thought I'd share that, because it's okay to have a fear or two and still be working through that, no matter how successful others deem you are and or that you deem you are. So thank you for that. It's okay. The next slide. So this slide, I wanted to zoom in terms of mentoring. Mentoring to me is the secret sauce. It is the gift that keeps on giving. I can honestly say wholeheartedly, I did not pull myself up by my own bootstraps. I have been blessed to have so many mentors along the way. Sometimes I sit and just reflect and I'm like, wow, I remembered the mentor who said this. I remember the mentor who said, be heard, be seen. I remember the mentor that told me, believe it or not, to be a little bit more aggressive in terms of my personality as a negotiator, buying aircraft for the Navy, like step up your game. And I will tell you, it has made all the difference. Now, I want to give you a quick little data point. Sometimes I didn't have mentors that looked like me. I didn't have an African-American female senior to me whom I could reach out to. So it's so important to embrace the diversity associated with mentoring. Many of my mentors, I mentioned earlier, an admiral was a Caucasian man, and many of my mentors wore military uniforms, and many of them were male, because I'm in a male-dominated space where like 77% are men. So it's fortunate to be able to have someone that looked like you, but if you don't let that be a showstopper, because that knowledge can be transferred from anyone that's willing to invest in you. And more than likely, you will find something in common with someone that you can connect with who doesn't look like you. But I wanted to briefly share, there's so many ways to mentor, and there's so many things that you can do. Believe it or not, I'm an introvert too, and I get that a lot. People will say, oh, I can't do this one-on-one thing. I'm an introvert, it makes me nervous, I don't know what to say. Well, then get into a peer group kind of mentoring, where it's you and a couple of other STEM students that are looking to get some information. You can do the group mentoring. You can even do situational mentoring, where I just have an issue that I need someone in the field to kind of guide me through. Or reverse mentoring is when I love reverse mentoring, because all of you young, amazing people, you come in and mentor me. And I'm like, who knew that was going on? So you kind of keep me up on my game by being a more junior person, mentoring a more senior person. And so for all your, speed daters, speed mentoring is like a flash mentoring, where you get a group of people together and you spend, it's like cruising, 10 minutes or so with the group, and then you can kind of cycle back and see who emulates the characteristics and attributes that you value. And then there's team mentoring, and in today's environment, virtual mentoring. However you select your mentor, what my hope is from this slide, you take away the need to have a mentor and to find a way to connect with someone. Now, I'll give you a tidbit. You may find yourself in an organization or working somewhere or interning somewhere where they have a formal mentoring program. And for like all the eHarmony, Match.com kind of people, you go in and you put your profile in, and then there'll be mentor profiles, and then 99%, bing, 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 you all are a match. 97%, you're a match with someone. What I would encourage people to do, that is definitely an opportunity to pursue, but watch people in your church, in your community, in your summer intern program. Watch people who emulate and appear to have the values that you have. Technically smart, very impressive, articulate, appear to be respected in the room, appear to be compassionate about future leaders and willing to make the time and invest the time in you. Have like and similar interests. I golf, she golfs. That's a great way to strike up a conversation. So I just think it's very important that we do not miss the opportunity. Sometimes I'll walk into a room and the first thing I'll ask is, by a show of hands, how many people have a mentor? And you'll be surprised how many people do not. But I can tell you, mentors open doors. Allyship, mentorship, you'll hear sponsorship. All of those ways are ways to connect with individuals that will be able to represent you when you're not in the room, and speak to your credibility, speak to your technical competence, and also articulate for you how you can be a great contributor to a team. So I think it's highly important that you have a mentor in your career and along, even personally and professionally along the journey. Next slide. So a day in my life. Wow. So I get to manage, as you see, there are quite a few people, but this is the key. You can only be great when you're surrounded by greatness. And so for me, I consider myself good, not great, but good and surrounded by greatness. I have so many amazing, technically smart people that manage in a lot of things. And I don't consider myself a manager of people. I consider myself a leader of people and a manager of the products that they deliver. I don't believe I need to manage people because I think people are smart enough to self-manage. But in my day-to-day, I lead everything from HR to security to facilities to small business to business financial management to IT solutions in an organization, to data analytics and information capture and transfer of a whole bunch of systems into to tellable stories from which we can make fact-based decisions. It is the dream job. I absolutely love the job because this is the business of the organization. So Naval Air Systems Command, we acquire, we design, we develop, we test aircraft, engines, and components, and all kinds of things that we need to fight tonight and win, which is our mission. And so I'm honored to be able to employ the tools that enable all of those programs to operate successfully. When you think of an engineer, my group hires them. When you think of the computer science that has to be recruited, it's my group that will hire and develop that computer scientist to optimally perform for the organization. Across all 43,000 workforce members, to me, this is like the best job of the command because it is the one that enables the success of all the other jobs in the command. And I mentioned earlier what I do in terms of talent and technical solutions. I used to be a contracting officer. So what does a contracting officer do? I bought airplanes for the Navy. That wonderful V-22 vertical lift that you see, you may see a Marine flying one or an Air Force person flying one. I was the one negotiating that from Bell and Boeing. I had an unlimited warrant to buy. Same thing with the F-18, same thing with the H-60. So some of the planes that you see, I'm blessed to work on, and their components that went inside. For example, the Gatling gun that's in the back of the V-22, I was able to acquire that for the program. And so I realized then, I also was able to manage tons of interns. So I would get all the new interns graduating like you from high school to college, coming, they just really know a little bit about a Navy. They don't know anything about Naval Air Systems Command. I was fortunate to scoop them all up and develop them to be rock stars and leaders in the organization, military and lieutenants, as well as interns graduating in our programs. I loved it. So despite seeing aircraft come down an assembly line, I knew my gift and my soul was in the development of people, because that would be the legacy for the Naval Air Systems Command organization, and more important for DoD and our country. I do believe is what we are able to build, design, and develop enables others to sleep at night in terms of our safety and our security. And with the people side of it, I wanted to also do that in my own business in terms of my entrepreneurship. And then it's getting people to unleash their full potential. This is leadership summarized for me. It is to share with people, one, that you do have a gift, because we all have a gift. We have different gifts, but we all have a gift. So I go about my life in my consulting world of enabling people to, one, identify whatever that gift is. If you don't know it, I will help you discover it, and more importantly, help you unleash it for goodness and greatness in your life and the lives of others. And so that's what I'm able to do in my Sommerville consulting business, and that's what I'm able to write about. If you had asked me 6 months ago or pre-COVID, actually I'll tell you a funny story really quickly. I was in San Diego, and my business partner today, wasn't my business partner at the time, this was years ago, had invited me to church. And the pastor said, "Yeah, you have a book in your belly." And I was like, "Oh, I have no time." As you can see, I have no time to write a book. And then we get into COVID. And what I knew was we would come into COVID with a skill set across various industries. But when we exited, some would not return because businesses wouldn't return. And we would have to have creative strategies in terms of getting America back to work again and how we would tap into the talent that was resident within our country. And so that's what I started to write about with my first book. And a New York editor said, oh, 40 pages in, you're onto something. So my point in sharing all of that is you never know where you're going to go, but be open to the art of the possible, because I prophetically denied having any interest in writing a book. And now I've written my second book. So that's kind of a day in my life, managing all 3 jobs and a given day is definitely what I do. I have to do something in every one of those areas. And my first job consumes me. So that means I work very late to do all the other things I need to do in my other jobs. And I also lead a foundation because it's important to give back. So thank you for that. The next slide. So skills. I wanted to spend a little bit of time on this because I want to leave you with, these are the skills. If you interview others, they may have different skills, and that's okay. But when I reflect, and I loved putting this slide together, because when I reflect upon my career, these were the things that really motivated me. Whatever you do, do it with not only excellence, but be passionate about it. I have never worked in an area that I didn't have an interest and I wasn't excited about it. And then I didn't reflect upon it when I wasn't at work, like, oh, you know what, we could do this. This could be different. This could be better. And it's because I was always passionate about it. You will have setbacks. Let me be the first to tell you, but there's a mind shift there. So a setback for me is always an opportunity, and it's a lesson to be learned there, but be persistent in my career. I can tell you a bunch of setbacks, but then I can also tell you how I'm able to move forward. Competence is extremely important. And I'm going to talk about this in terms of being competent and confident. And I'm going to zoom in on my ladies just for a second that's listening. And I didn't make this up. There's a lot of data that says this. We are oftentimes more competent than we are confident. And I want to teach our young ladies to get beyond that, because what happens when you get into the STEM field is you will often be in a room where I can't pick women that don't get in the game, women that don't apply for the positions, women that are competent but not confident enough to get in the game. And when you look at the STEM fields, we are underrepresented in terms of population across any sector. And because I'm surrounded mainly by men, they're often asking, well, we didn't pick a computer scientist female because no one applied. So what I'm asking is, you're way more competent than you are confident. So work on your confidence, and it will enable you to reach levels beyond measure that you never even imagined. And effort optimism. This is a hidden secret of mine. Sometimes you're going to work through something and wonder, why didn't I get selected for that summer intern program? I gave my best all year long. I'm all A's. Keep believing that your hard work will pay off. That's what effort optimism is. Believe that that wasn't the one for you because the next one is the one for you. But never give up on yourself in your quest. Critically think. You know, as a political science pre-law major, as an undergraduate, I used to study the Federalists and the papers. And what our founding fathers always said was the ability to see everything on 4 sides, on all sides, when they were writing the Constitution. And I think that critical thinking was there. And I think it's been employed as STEM leaders that we continue to critically think and be as creative and flexibility. You know, working for the Navy, and I'll say this because this is a safe environment, you'll hear a lot about the threat. You'll hear a lot about China. And we are going to need the diversity of STEM leaders just like you to fight and win and defend our country, no doubt. But the ability to be creative is what makes the United States great and what makes you all amazing, and the huge dependency we have and the diversity of STEM leaders, because where their society is very homogeneous, our ability to be creative and embrace the intellectual capital that we all offer is what's going to allow us to be even greater. Flexibility, adaptability, agile, pivot when you need to pivot. And I just want to say something about failure, no such word. Really, when you think of adaptability, it's the ability to gain the data point, learn from what many may consider failure, you will not. And how do I use that to my vantage point? So be flexible in how you do that. Take the risk. sometimes. Take the risk. Analyze the opportunities, weigh the factors, be thoughtful in your decision, but sometimes step out. I talked about being a reservist. It opened more doors than one can imagine. Hard work pays off. It goes without saying. Be the best at what you are. If you're the nanotechnology engineer, if you're the go-to computer science person, be the best and be known to be the one that gets it done. Collaboration and cooperation is key, because no one gets there alone. We do everything in terms of teams. You do it in high school. I know a lot of people, I used to be one of them, like, oh, I don't like these group projects, but learn those skills of collaboration and cooperation and teaming, because that's how we get work done in teams. Communicate effectively, and I mean orally. Manage your emotional intelligence. Embrace the ideas of others, even when you don't agree. Find where you're common and work through your differences when you're communicating with others. I would submit to you, you'll find you're way more common than you are different. And be fair and equitable to all. I think that's important in terms of our organization. And stay healthy. Find some outlet. I like yoga. I like meditation. I like to run. I used to run track, and then I ran cross country. I think it's important to invest in yourself for the long haul, right? For the long haul, stay healthy and find an outlet to do so. I think those skills have enabled me to get to where I am today. And I think they will also allow me to continue to advance into the future opportunities in which are of interest to me. Next slide. So, how did I get into STEM? Now, I grew up thinking I was going to be this high-priced K Street attorney or some sort of attorney in New York. And so I think it's so important in terms of STEM, is to we'll zoom in on that a little bit more. I think, so take a look at that. I talked a little bit about your purpose. I talked a little bit about, aligning to something that makes you excited. But this is the other thing. I am the first to raise my hand for the most difficult opportunities. I look for those opportunities to showcase my talent. I look for those opportunities to be the one to get the visibility. And I think it's important, and you believe it or not, you'll find that some of the most difficult opportunities aren't that difficult when you get inside and start applying your skill sets. So know where you are and know where you want to be. I have always been the first to raise my hand and be not only the voice for myself, but to be the voice for others. STEM allows you to do that because someone's always looking to hear what you have to say, to hear what you learn, to hear about the white paper that's of interest, to hear about something you researched or learned, and it gives you a platform to raise your voice. I think it's important to want to solve problems. There are a lot of people that present the problem, but they don't present solutions. So going off and saying, okay, let me research that. And more important, let me partner with another group or another student, and we work together to brainstorm it. That was my interest in getting into the STEM field. And STEM leaves a legacy. We solve problems with STEM. We analyze situations with STEM. We make recommendations, white papers, do research with STEM. Everything we do has a STEM component to it. So it's the greatest way to have a legacy. And for me, leadership is about leaving a legacy. Do whatever you do with compassion and an interest for others. What STEM allows you to do is not only solve a problem, but leave a solution for others to either implement or for you to partner to execute. When I was recruited to do work for the Navy, at first I was going to be this high-priced lawyer, but I learned that through the Navy, there was a calling, right? There was a calling greater than me. There was an ability to have an impact. There was ability to work with such a group of diverse STEM leaders, and it would open the door and expose me. So when you think about STEM, think of why you want to do it in terms of your purpose and your passion and the area of interest, but think about the impact you're going to have. And it'll allow you to continue to grow and get excited about that same field every day, and to move about within your STEM career. Next slide. So Q&A, I want to leave some time. I know you have some great questions. And so I want to pivot in terms of slides. Remember, I'm adaptive too. And let's go into some of your questions this afternoon.
Thank you, Ms. Somerville, for sharing your career and your passion projects with us today. We are happy to have you as a role model. Now, we would like to take the next few minutes to ask questions and find out more about you.
First off, I really want to just say thank you, Ms. Somerville, for the slides. I thought it was really interesting. And I thought it was amazing how, even though you wanted to start pursuing something in New York, it just didn't go out well, but you still was able to find what was really your calling. So I just wanted to say thank you. But something I was just really curious about was being in a male-dominant field and, there's mainly men and not much women. What was the one obstacle you said that was hard to overcome but helped you in the long run?
That's a great question out the gate. The obstacle was to connect with men, right? That oftentimes don't look like me, and find a way to form a partnership and a relationship with my male counterparts, and to find common interests and be comfortable. See, this is the beauty. When you sit at that table, you're going to be comfortable and confident, and they will respect you and welcome your ideas and look for your voice because you are different in the room. And so that greater challenge of, well, it's okay to be me. You're young. You're like, should I say something? Should I not say something? And I was that one that struggled with being confident enough to raise my hand. And then my male counterpart would say it, and I would be like, I was thinking the same thing. So I think it was to be comfortable and confident and have that relationship with my male counterparts. It's so critical for us in the STEM field. And we know the answer, but believe in yourself enough to raise your hand. You will get so much respect and credibility in your career field that you will be sought after and out to answer the most challenging and difficult questions at all levels of many organizations.
Thank you. Sorry, Moria.
No problem. I also found your presentation very engaging and very inspiring. And it just shows that even if certain things don't go like how you plan, you still can find success and be successful. And so my second question is, what advice would you give to someone who wants to be in your career field?
Oh, you all are so good. I love it. So when I look back at my younger self, this is so critical. I would say, do not have a mindset of scarcity, but have a mindset of abundance, right? Sometimes we talk ourselves out of opportunities, right? Because we haven't seen it. We don't know if we can do it. And my mindset today is purely of abundance. Anything I want to go after, anything you want to pursue, any school you want to attend. And I'll give you a quick example. I wanted to go to Harvard, but it was expensive. And I literally said, I don't know. I skipped a year and didn't even apply because I wanted my organization to help me fund it. And I talked myself out of the opportunity. The next year when I applied, no one batted an eye about the funding. No one even questioned it. So that mindset of why wasn't I worthy of it? Why wouldn't someone want to invest in me? Why wouldn't I get an opportunity to go to such an elite institution? Having a mindset of abundance is a game changer for all of us. Just thinking in terms of you can have it all. You can have the impact. You can have access to any school you want, any organization you want. Be resilient, build that network, and just have that mind of abundance. Don't be short-sighted in terms of your future state and where you can potentially advance.
That makes sense. Thank you. My question is, what is the first thing or the main thing that you really like when you're mentoring? That's the one thing you're always like reminding your students, saying like, this is this, like make sure it's always this in a sense.
Okay, you all are amazing ladies today. Thank you for the questions. So what I tell my students is build and I'm going to say it a couple of times in different ways, build your professional capital, right? So when you work, you're going to work your hardest. You're going to give it your all because I know you are, because you're amazing. And when you do that, you build something called performance capital. Over time, because you're so good, everyone's going to know you're amazing. They're going to see your hard work. But sometimes we get so entrenched in our performing so we can be top performers that we forget we need to put our resources into performance capital, and we need to put our resources in professional capital, the relationship capital, the network building. And sometimes we lose sight of that. It is of greater importance to me to have a hard work and a great career that proves that you're outstanding, and that's your performance capital. But the relationship capital is of equal importance. And I would submit to you that over time, performance capital has a lower, your dividends will start to reduce, right? Your ROI will start to reduce. Because if something needs to be done in 6 months and you do it all the time in 3 months, I now expect you to do it in 3 months. That's the new normal for you. But so you've done that and you've proven that, but you've got to take the time to kind of lift your head up a little bit and go to that networking event, join that organization. Honestly, go play that game of golf, ladies, too. Go out and become good golf players. You learn a lot. And so I would say build that relationship capital so that it complements the performance capital and makes you well-rounded. Because oftentimes decisions will be made and I may not know you. I don't know Mimi, I don't know more. So I'm not really sure. And there's someone in that room that can say, oh my goodness, they're phenomenal. I actually talked to her, so impressed at that networking, so impressed that last BEYA discussion when I had that conversation with Maura. So you want to build that relationship capital as well, even my introverts.
That's some solid advice. When did you first know that you wanted to be in your career field?
I knew when I started probably in 1994, when I started my career in the Navy, because I saw so many STEM fields in play. And I saw that, wow, together they're powerful, right? When I have the engineers, the different types of engineers working with the scientists in the lab, disassembling parts and pieces and putting them back together, I saw that STEM really is the game changer in terms of the world, right? Beyond. And I thought, wow, if you want to have a national platform and an impact and even a global impact, getting into the world of STEM was how to do it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. We actually have a question from the comments real quick, so I'll read that one. How can parents fully support their daughters to be supportive in STEM?
That's a great question. We have so many STEM opportunities for women now that it's a blessing. I think women of color, it is like my favorite career communications group. I love BEYA as well, but women of color is powerful. And if you leave there not transformed, I just don't know, you missed it. So I think getting our young ladies exposed to anything STEM related, where they are around and I say unicorns, special, talented, powerful women like them, young, pre-collegiate, collegiate, and professionals, anything STEM, STEMming, STEMX, anytime you just Google any nearby STEM event, I would encourage my daughter to participate. And she actually went through the STEM program as well and decided she wants to be a patent attorney instead of an engineer, which is great because she was also into mock trial. But I would highly encourage you just to continue to support young women by involving them in all things STEM related and encouraging them to be as competitive as their male counterparts in the field of STEM. So going to all STEM related, partnering, and if you know someone that's an engineer or in the like and similar field, get them around those role models, around those other professionals, around those community leaders, volunteering to be judges in middle school STEM programs, all of that. Just ensure that they're front and centered as leaders and that they know that you're right there pushing them and exposing them. Great question.
Okay. What was life like on campus at Norfolk State University?
That's a great question. So When I was going to Norfolk State, this is the humbling, and I'll just be totally transparent. I didn't really have anyone that said, you need to go to college. I didn't have at that time parents that were pushing me. For me, academia and academics opens doors. So I was intrinsically motivated to go to Norfolk State because I thought, well, when I wasn't going to go to New York, at Norfolk State, that, I would get that surrounding of what I had learned via HBCUs. And it was Norfolk State gave me the parental, the auntie, the uncle, the HBCU family that I didn't have. And so when you felt like there was no one, there was no way. I didn't have a car. I didn't have a laptop like kids have today, a computer. But I had a family of leaders and academia and scientists and researchers that gave me wings when I felt like I didn't have any. And so, although I didn't have much at Norfolk State University, I had a family that was determined to ensure that I would have equal access and opportunity. So for those that feel like they're out there on their own, they don't know today how they're going to make it in terms of scholarships and college, again, keep putting the hard work in. You'll be surprised the organizations that step up and support you and the resources that are available to you. And so my takeaway from Norfolk State, which both of my children, my daughter graduated from Spelman and my son's at North Carolina A&T as a mechanical engineer. But, it's the family of an HBCU. It's that family focused on ensuring that you make it, opening those doors, having conversations on your behalf with other people in the community, giving you opportunities, and ensuring that you have access to compete and to win. And so that was my takeaway from Norfolk State University. I found my HBCU family.
That sounds like a pretty good experience.
Yeah, I
Phenomenal.
think so too. Even though it wasn't all there right away, I like the fact that definitely in your times of struggles and like hardships, you
Right.
definitely weren't alone. I think that's
Yeah.
amazing.
I tell people there's no lost suffrage. So everything that you're experiencing is going to make sense, even though it doesn't make sense at the moment. There's never any lost suffrage. And that's also a mindset of abundance, right? There's a lesson to be learned in every situational setback.
That's very true. We actually have another question from the comments. How do you feel, especially when you have 3 jobs? Can it be overbearing? Do you think it's like a good balance? How does that all play out for you?
That's a great question. So I find little ways to do things. Like even today, like I'll go for a run. And believe it or not, I get the best ideas when I run. So it's like physical, but I do it alone. So it's an opportunity to clear your head. I love like meditating in stillness. And I was later in life learning this too, as I was like, trying to find like a nice, I love like just sitting quiet, maybe listening to like meditation, the Calm app, not advertising it, but it's something that I use. But find a tool that allows you to get just alone with yourself. And I know I don't come across that way, but I am an introvert. So I love the quiet, even if it's 30 minutes or 45 minutes to get yourself, aligned in the morning, listening or watching something. I think it's just so important. And the way you start your day is the way you can define your day. And so I love starting it with like my inner thoughts, clarity, alignment of my spirit with what I want to get accomplished. And this is a helpful hint that helps me like let things out of my head, because I have all these things in my head. And I'm always looking to be creative. The night before, I jot the things down, and I believe subconsciously I already start working them. So in the morning, it's like, oh, you can get some downtime and then get back into the swing of things. But just jotting down the things, and they have apps and tools that you want to get accomplished, and kind of cleansing your head a little bit to get centered, or just some of the tools I use. But it can be overwhelming. But this is the thing, when you're passionate about it, it doesn't even really feel like work, right? Because you're just trying to get some good stuff done. So when you're passionate about what you do, it doesn't. But I do believe you should take time. And I do vacation. And when I do vacation, I do try to do some cool things while I'm on vacation to get some balance. But because I love what I do, even like what we're doing now, I enjoy it so much that it doesn't even really feel like work to me.
That's good.
That's amazing, actually. I wish I was there. I wish I was in that mindset.
So your work basically feels like play.
Yes, yes, it does. When you enjoy, that's why that passion is so key. When you enjoy and someone says, oh, we're going to have a meeting, you're like, oh, yeah, I want to have a meeting because I'm excited to talk about that, or I have some ideas about that. And that's why it's important to love what you do. And when you think about the skills, like I tell people, don't chase jobs, right? Don't look for, I just want to be the next X, but look at the skills you have and the skills you want to gain. And will this opportunity allow you to get them? So I always do these little Venn diagrams, like, okay, so I think I'm okay at this, but I really want to learn more about this. So it's not the next job, it's not the next paycheck, it's the what position will allow me to develop those skills. Because in order to be invaluable in your organization, you want to be redeployable, right? So I told you all, I studied law, I studied women and power. I was everything from supply chain integration, IT, built the first app at Naval Air Systems Command. But what I had to do was develop, every time this is a good one. Every time you move, try to reinvent yourself. I was a contracting officer. People ask me, how did you go from buying airplanes to doing supply chain integration, to building a mobile app, to working with Google and Apple, to doing command operations and HR and IT solutions and data analytics? Every opportunity you get to reinvent yourself, you become more and more valuable. So just remember that. The job that no one wanted, you made it your own, you had an impact, and you became more and more known and more valuable as a result of it.
That makes sense.
And I'm sorry, you go, Maria.
What types of things inspired you during your college years?
When I was in college, I would see all these amazing people, right? Oh, I graduated from Norfolk State, class of whatever, and they'd come back and be these amazing speakers. And I would go, wow, they seem to have nice cars, they probably had a nice home. What inspired me the most was I thought, you know what? Will I be significant enough? Not successful, but significant. I thought, I always felt like successful people put their resources into things, but significant people put their resources into people. And so for me, what I knew was one day I would work so hard that I would be considered significant enough to not only come back to Norfolk State, but to be able to shape and influence the lives of others that look like me, that don't look like me, that I would come into contact with, which is why I started a foundation as well, the Killenly Parker Foundation. It was to really be able to be significant. And when I was at Norfolk State, I knew with this I would be able to make more money. I'd be able to help others, and I'd be able to have the impact that I wanted to have. And it was all about, what did it take to be significant in today's environment? How do I become significant enough to be known as a player and a game changer, not only for me, but for others?
That makes sense. I'm going to give this question to Mimi.
Okay. And my last question before we close is definitely, with all the wisdom and all the knowledge that you have, like now, being through experiencing everything and finding your flow, what would you tell your early, like fresh out of high school self, applying into colleges? What would you tell yourself now?
Don't be short-sighted. Don't label and limit yourself. Is what I would say. You have so much, I tell you, even the STEM City USA platform, there's so many resources that you can be anything you want to be. And you have so much available that we didn't have, and you have so many people standing by to enable your success. Believe in yourself, do the work, and you can do it. You can do it. And so I would say, no labels, no limits, no short-sightedness. Go after everything you want with the spirit of excellence, and be prayerful and be honest and be hopeful, and you'll get there.
Thank you so much, Ms. Somerville. I felt like everything that you've shared and every moment, like just spending with you here, was absolutely wonderful. I very much I'm so inspired right now. You have no clue.
Thank you.
So thank
Thank
you
you
so
so much.
much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Over to you, General Crawford.
What a rich discussion. I was sitting here thinking, well, I took a lot of notes here after 34 years in the military and 2 years in corporate America. I feel like it's time for me to start another career. Very inspiring discussion. But for everyone, again, thanks for being here. And I think what you heard today was a story about the importance. If I had to have a banner, she said it in the end, the difference between being successful and being significant. You talked a lot about believing and investing in self, optimism, and building relationships. You talked about confidence and the importance of winning. Winning still matters. And then one of my favorites was the diversity of mentorship. And the way you capture that is really getting yourself used to being mentored by people who think differently and look differently than you do. One of my favorite quotes in closing here that you talked about, you said it in the first 2 minutes. It's a blessing to be a blessing to others. And so again, very rich discussion. Thanks so much for sharing. I really believe and truly believe this in my heart of hearts, that our future competitive advantage as a nation is going to be heavily influenced by our willingness to invest in the next greatest generation. And that's what we're about here today. So thanks to everyone for being here. And until the next time, back over to you, Mimi.
Thank you so much, General Crawford. And also, thank you to all who has joined us for our Career Day with Ms. Somerville. I hope you guys were just as inspired as I was. She shared so much valuable tips and advice that we could use. I'm absolutely very grateful to especially be in this opportunity with her for when she shared her words of wisdom to help us in our career journey. Remember to visit STEMcityUSA.com for more BEYA STEM Career Day segments. Over to you, Moria.
We would like to give a very special thanks to our BEYA STEM Career Day sponsor, Lockheed Martin. They are known for their groundbreaking work in aerospace, arms, defense, information security, and technology around the world. Please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel and join us for the next Career Day on May 13th, 2023. See you next time.
Every day at Lockheed Martin, we are creating the future. When did I decide to become an engineer? Where I grew up in my village, we had a lot of interaction with nature. So I was always fascinated by the flight of the hummingbird. Seeing this marvelous aerodynamics of the hummingbird gave me this general idea that I wanted to be working on the ability to control things that flew. I've had this long running curiosity, I still do today, of asking the question, why is this the way it is? Are there ways to improve what it does? And in fact, those are the same questions we ask every day at Lockheed Martin. That's why my colleagues come to work saying, this is great, we've done all these great things, we've built all these great systems, how could we make it better? And how can we make it better together? Lockheed Martin's engineers and scientists are at the forefront of innovation. Everything from AI and machine learning to hypersonics to directed energy. Individually, all these are really critical capabilities that we need to develop. To actually deliver something ahead of ready to our customers, it takes pulling these pieces together into an overall mission capability. What we are doing here matters to our nation, to our nation's security.